Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Coach Kevin. I am your host, Kevin Thornton, life coach and author. My intentions of the show is to inspire, educate, and empower people to be the best version of themselves through our conversations. And intentionally, I try to showcase Black men in a positive light because mainstream media does not showcase us doing the things like this Black man I'm going to introduce you today is doing. And I think if we shed more light on people like him, we have more young men striving to be doing the things that he's doing, doing the things that I am doing. So that's my intentions. I want you all to share, like, and subscribe to the platform. And without further ado, I want you to introduce to you Derrick Coleman, Dr. Derrick Coleman. He is a superintendent of River Rouge School Systems, and he's a graduate of Eastern Michigan University, and he's an esteemed member of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. So, Derrick, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
And
You
I'm
forgot
going,
one thing. I am the
uh,
father of three beautiful young ladies. I think that's my greatest accomplishment.
there you go. So, tell everybody who you are, those who don't know you, who you are, what you do, how'd you get to this point right here where you at?
Yeah. So I saw a T-shirt maybe last year, and it just said, "I'm just a kid from Detroit," but from Detroit, Michigan, the West Side, West Grand Boulevard, and Warren. For anybody that is from the area, they call it the Old West Side. I'm a free lunch kid, and I think that is incredibly important because if I came on here and I read my bio is going to tell you that I hold an undergraduate degree in English, American literature, and language with a comprehensive minor in communication and theater arts from Eastern Michigan. I was a secondary education certified teacher coming out of the College of Ed. My bio would tell you I have a master's in educational leadership from Eastern Michigan, that I hold a post. Well, I spent 32 hours at Wayne State University, and I completed my doctoral studies at Gwinnett Mercy University. My bio would tell you I've received both Distinguished Alumni and Outstanding Alumni Award from Eastern Michigan and Gwinnett. It's going to tell you that I spent 12 years as the superintendent of River Rouge School District. The previous 4, I served as the assistant superintendent in Detroit Public Schools. I am my 28th year in education. My bio would tell you all these incredible things about me, right? But your bio is really a snapshot of your successes. It doesn't tell people who you really are. It just presents to people in a package who you want them to believe you are. So at my core, I'm just a free lunch kid, who has been given an incredible opportunity to create access, and opportunities for children who look like me, who I'm able to create a school system that is able to support children that look like me who didn't have my success. But all they needed was somebody who can stand in the gap as an intercessor to show them that their birthright zip code will not dictate their outcomes.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Coleman, my question to you is how did you get the school system and River Rouge to buy into your vision to make it to where it become right now?
Man, great question. So when I took over the district in 2012, the state of Michigan had been very aggressive, and literally shutting down local school districts that were in economic crisis and also academic. So we were
Mhm.
teetering on financial insolvency. And buy-in was easy because literally, if they didn't listen to me, I felt like I was John Connor in The Terminator. I'm a messenger from the future. I just left Detroit where we were closing 30 schools a year. And the state was draconian in how they were addressing, high poverty school districts and schools themselves. So they really didn't have a choice. And I don't want to say that, to sound as if I took advantage of a situation, but if you don't listen, here's what's going to happen to you. It happened to Inkster Public Schools, Muskegon Heights, Highland Park, Saginaw Buena Vista. They're all districts of color. They all had incredible, rich history, but the state was not respectful of whatever your traditions were. If these were the conditions, Here's the outcome. So I came in with the plan because, again, I just spent 4 years in DPS. So I understood what families needed from urban areas. And at the end of the day, you needed to create a place that could address their trauma, whether it be adverse childhood experiences, the community violence, all of these things that take place in communities of poverty. Children who come from communities of poverty suffer the same psychological trauma as a child in Bosnia or what's going on in the Gaza Strip. So you expecting them to go into a place that as an institution might not even be respectful of their experiences. Their parents may have not had great success. So simple, complex, but simple. Create a space that was inviting the people, that met them where they are and made them feel as if their life had value.
So I really love what you just said. So because that's the reality, most of the kids come from trauma. And I saw uh, a reel that you were speaking on, and you were saying that, in order for you all as professionals to be your best, you was expecting, you need your professionals to be the best version of themselves. And that means also doing the healing within themselves, because how can you help these kids with trauma if you're living in your trauma at the same time?
Yeah, that's a fact.
What made you, which I completely agree, what made you say that to your teachers to make them understand that?
Yeah. So great question. It was a really post-pandemic wisdom, right? Before the pandemic, so I had been on this vicarious pilgrimage between education and healing from my trauma, from my childhood and my community. Like I said, I'm a free lunch kid. And for people who don't understand what that is, you only receive free lunch if you are identified by the federal government as falling below the federal income guidelines for poverty. So I'm growing up in those spaces. And what I realized is that I'm thinking, because most people who go into education they want to help. Some are going to go into it because they believe you get all these breaks, but the majority of the people are going because they want to help.
Right.
And we choose this profession because we're altruistic. We believe that there's good in every situation. So I'm thinking I chose a profession where people, once they heard that here's our real issue, it's not academic, it's economic. When communities are economically disadvantaged and you have all these social inequities, you're dealing with issues that have nothing to do with educating the child because they're not even ready to receive instruction. So if the home is chaotic, there's no way that school is going to walk through a metal detector as if it has some transformational powers that whatever they dealt with is going to be left there and they can come here and learn. Right. So I realized I didn't have the traction that I wanted. And then once we came back from the pandemic, everybody thought that we lost thousands of people who we knew, right? But if you really think about the people who you had an intimate relationship, whether it be family or friends during the pandemic, we all lost some. But CNN, MSNBC, your local news, they had the death counter or clicker. They're constantly showing. So we are overwhelmed by this trauma. And when the students came back, man, that's all we focused on. People were like, oh, the kids are going to come back and they're all over the place. I looked at the adults. They were worse than the kids because that pandemic triggered a lot of, their unresolved childhood debt. So whatever issues they had before the pandemic, they were even more pronounced. And so once they came back, people were talking about the kids. And I'm like, no, you can't have healthy children without healthy adults. So right. I created a focus that said, we're not just focused on student healing. I have to heal the adults. But that trauma, that emotional space they were in was present before the pandemic. Post-pandemic wisdom just allowed me to reflect back on it and say, here was the issue in the first place. So that's really, where it came about. It was just a matter of, being present to look at everything that's going on, and situational awareness said that you can't help kids without helping the adults.
Absolutely. So was Was your teachers receptive to that? And how have you seen the change in them since then?
Yeah, great question. So it really depends on how healthy they were,
Right.
because what I talk to them about is in addition to programming and conditioning, our diets matter.
Mhm.
And I fast, 23 hours a day. I try to eat as healthy as I can, knowing that at some point we all got an expiration date. But
Right.
I tell my staff that your diet isn't just what you're eating, it's everything you consume. So from your conversations to going into that barbershop to whatever the case may be, the majority of the people we're talking to are talking to us through a broken lens.
Mhm.
So depending on how healthy they are, determined at that point their ability to receive the message. But the more vulnerable you can be as a leader, you create psychological safety that helps people know that what I'm sharing with you won't be weaponized against me. Because here's the reality of it: you've trusted people in the past. This has nothing to do with school. People have broken our hearts. And
Yeah.
because they've broken our hearts, we're not quick to trust. And so, why would I share this about me not knowing if you're going to use that against me later? Because the
Right.
last relationship I was in, they did me like that. So, no, I ain't telling you this. So, once we were able to create a space that said, no, it's safe here, I modeled that by being as vulnerable and as transparent as I can be. Because here's the reality of it: it's only as harmful to you as your ability to let go of whatever happened.
Right.
And so it's like B Rabbit in um 8 Mile when Eminem was rapping. Man, I'm gonna tell you
Right.
all these things about me up front because I'm comfortable with it. And so if I'm not worried about you using it against me later because I reconciled that,
Right.
once people see it, because they're gonna look at you and they're gonna think aesthetically he got his stuff together. No, man, everybody dealing with something. I don't care how
Absolutely.
well you dress it up.
Well said. So I think that's a model. I think a lot of school districts, especially urban school districts, should model because if and it's funny you said that because I interviewed another superintendent just the other day, and he's pretty much on the same wavelength as you. And that's actually my old school district back at home. So we're going to have conversations afterwards about me being a consultant and talking to some of the teachers about helping them in their traumas, all that type of stuff like that. So I think you are on to something really good because I think if we get the teachers to buy in and work on their healing, which is not just emotional trauma, but also the health.
Yeah.
Because you said something that was very true. Healthy living is not just what you intake for food wise, but it's your conversations, it's the music, what you watch on TV,
Yeah.
all that plays a part because that's going to create the different narratives you think or how you feel about certain things. So,
Can,
would you
can I jump
also,
in right there though?
yes, sir.
I want to expand the narrative. Here's a bias that I held that I was able to change probably over the last 8 years. Once I started my doctoral program, because I went to a small private school out east, uh,
Mm,
where the majority of the people didn't have my background and my experiences. Trauma is indiscriminate. And so you can suffer from abuse, neglect, and household dysfunction in higher income communities. But for people who come from the hood, we kind of dismiss other people's experiences. Like, oh man, you ain't been through nothing. It's relative. Yes, I have. So if
mm,
somebody is touching me sexually, and I'm from in a multi-million-dollar home with the highest earners possible, that's going to affect me. If
yeah,
my parent isn't present for me as I'm developing my self esteem, sense of self worth, and awareness because they're working. I'm isolated. So I don't even want to make it exclusive to, impoverished districts.
right.
People in general are hurting, and especially as it doesn't matter where you're from, nobody is going to pass through here without having experienced something that, unless they address it, is going to bleed over into every aspect of their life and every relationship they've been in.
I like that. So, would you also being a member of Alpha Phi Alpha? I know y'all do big things with mentorship and all that. And with me coaching a lot of um, younger black men, I know one of the things that they deal with is the healing of trauma, but also self-esteem.
Yes.
What would you want to say to the men that's listening today about their journey and those who are lacking self-esteem or self-worth?
Yeah. So that's a great question because, you know, your self-esteem and self-worth are a byproduct of your confidence, right? And so I would tell the mentor to make sure that they're healthy enough to speak life into that young man or that young woman. Because it's funny, Pastor Keon had talked about it, but you'd be surprised how much advice and coaching you've gotten from broken people. And
Mm-hmm.
because when people are sharing their experiences, they're not telling it through the lens of abundance or learning from the lesson. They're talking to you from pain. So if
Mm-hmm.
you've had anything negative happen to you, no, don't trust these girls because here's what they're gonna do to you. So
Right.
we're shaping this next generation of people to not be able to engage in healthy relationships because we speak to
Mm-hmm.
them through our pain, not letting them understand that it's a lesson in
Mm-hmm.
this. So be mindful of the advice that you're giving people. And man, I am not an advocate for everybody mentoring because it's some dudes who I know well, and I'm like, man, I'm not gonna let you talk to a kid or some young lady, it's some women who I know, or I'm gonna
Right.
limit your access, or you can share these experiences as what not to do. But think about it, man. I'm a big fan of power. Canaan,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you can mess around and have the wrong aunt, uncle, parent, guy in the community. Ronnie just took Canaan and turned
Right.
him into even more of a savage. That's a mentor. So it's
Mm-hmm.
important who you put in front of people. And everybody, though good intentioned, may not have the outcome that you want. So I'm gonna vet that person because just because you pop up and you suit it up, don't mean you healthy. You just dress that trauma up, man. And I got to make sure you're healthy enough to talk to these people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what would you say to our young men who might be like in their early 30s, but feel like, you know how the millennials and the Gen Z is thinking, if they're not getting it done quickly, then they don't failed.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of men that's in their early 30s that's not where they want to be. So they feel that they are a failure. What would you say? How would you speak life to them, those that's watching?
Yeah, I would probably tell them to get off social media
Mhm.
because who are you comparing your life to? You know, I didn't start college till I was 20. I was out of high school 2 years before I came to school. And in full transparency, um, I was this incredibly gifted student that underachieved. And,
Mhm.
and now when I say underachieved, that's relative. I might have had a 2.6, 2.7, but I didn't take advantage of the resources around me because I didn't know how to. And
Mhm.
here's the irony in kids that don't get in trouble or who appear to have it all together. People assume that you have it together. Man, I'm 15. My wisdom and knowledge are only as um, as high as the people that I've been exposed to in my experiences. So if my people didn't come from that place, how can
Mhm.
you expect for me to navigate it? I say that for this reason. You couldn't tell me. I held it for a long time that I was behind. So I get to college, 91, 92. I come out of high school in 89. I'm 20. I'm a freshman, but I'm a junior based off of my peer group, the age
Mhm.
of them. So I came into college feeling like I was behind. So all
Mhm.
it did was gave me this incredible focus. So I would ask them, who was their network? Because you're only going to be as successful as the influences that are around you. And what is it that you aspire to become? Because success should not be measured by how much money you have. There's quality of life that has to be factored into that. You can be on this grind to become a millionaire, and you realize when you get there, you left everybody behind. So your new peer group, you don't even want to be with them. So find
Right.
some good friends, find good, healthy outlets, and then just track your progress. I had 5, 10, 15, 20-year goals that helped me stay aligned, but I wouldn't want them to make their definition of success predicated purely on how much money they've attained, how many assets they've acquired. Because currency to me isn't just, monetary.
Right.
It's the health of the relationships that I have. The
Right.
healthier my network is, man, that is a high asset, high value. That is a high value asset. You can
Mm-hmm.
have all the money in the world and be miserable. You can have all the money in the world and you're coping through pills, liquor, hanging out because you're not happy with who you are. So find a good network of people, get off social media, because if you compare your success to theirs, you'll never feel like you got it together.
Absolutely. So my next question for you is, what's next for you? You doing this great thing as superintendent. What's next for Dr. Derrick Coleman?
Yeah. So I'm under contract till for another 3 years. That will have given me 15 years as a superintendent, general superintendent. I'm, 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 I mean, just the natural progression of life. I'm headed towards retirement. I have a,
Mm-hmm.
I have a consulting company where I do work with colleges and universities, school districts, and private or business organizations to create healthy organizations that focus on trauma triggers and healing. So the consulting is keeping me busy. So I'm going to consult, I'm going to travel, I'm going to potentially move out of state and become a superintendent somewhere else because I still got a lot of energy.
Okay.
Um, but whatever it is, it will be a very organic and natural process that I've um, I've invested well enough that I can go retire, and go sit down
Mm-hmm.
and be comfortable. And I'm not saying that's not a humble brag. It just means that I'll be okay if I don't want to do anything.
Right.
But that's not my intention. I plan on being able to go out here, share these experiences that I've had with people. Um, I'm a firm believer in, like, so how do you replicate what we're doing here? And I
Right.
do want to say this. I think we're doing phenomenal work, but it's not pretty. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason I say it's not pretty is because what you talk about with people is the investment in talent, building capacity. Then you need systems. You can have all of that in place, but the people that you're dealing with are imperfect people. So they're going to come in and bring in these behaviors that you're constantly addressing, and helping them get healthy as they matriculate through. So it's ugly work, it's construction work in a suit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm going to do, man. I'm going to go around and show other school districts how to create healthy adults to create healthy children. What are the tenets of a trauma informed environment? I'm going to go into into businesses to help them create healthy organizations because we don't talk about workplace trauma. We
Oh,
work in
it's the
environments,
worst.
yeah, we work in environments where the boss or your coworkers, you could have escaped trauma throughout your life and then get to work in an incredibly painful place. So that's
Mm-hmm.
what I want to do, man. I've had an incredible life. How can I share it and help create opportunities for others?
So one of the things I like to do is give flowers what flowers is due. I think we wait until the very end to say all the acknowledgments that how we feel about different people. And for you, just to show the sense of pride I have for you, to see the evolution. I was with you in college.
Right.
So to see that version of DC and now who you are now is amazing to me. And then to see how you navigate with the school district, how you focus on the trauma and the healing of all people to help everybody as a whole, that speaks a lot to me.
Mhm.
And I don't think it should go lightly about what you're doing. I want to acknowledge you for that. But I also want you to understand too, I want people who listen, is you got to be, when you pray and meditate, you have to be obedient to what he guides you to. So
Mhm.
in my journey, I'm trying to figure out what's next for me, right? And you came in town, and I said, I'm gonna meet you. And we met up and we had drinks and we talked or whatever. And you don't know that at that moment, he used you as a vessel for me.
All right.
Because there, I never looked at education. and me consulting and with my knowledge and my skills to navigate the educational system to help them create healthier children, but also healthier teachers
Yeah.
at the same time. So, you know, when when for the listeners at hand, when you pray, you gotta be open and receptive to what he brings to you. Because this is not what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But he used you, someone I respected. And in conversation, I said, okay, this is something that is possible for me to do. And then, bam, I got my first contract.
That's right.
And it's like, okay, but you gotta be obedient to that. How involved are you in your spiritual journey?
Yeah. So, man, that's a great question. And this is going to sound, I say this as humbly as I can without a hint of ego or arrogance. But
Mm-hmm.
this is my church. This is my ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So I find I'm fed spiritually through the TD Jakes and Pastor Keon and others where I can get snippets. But
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm here. That's the reason I've stayed here this long. I've had, man, numerous opportunities to leave. But I said, where will I be given a greater opportunity? I would tell pastors this when I worked in Detroit because I was the liaison to the mayor's office in the faith-based clergy. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, people who go to church on Sunday choose to be there. They woke up intent on here's what I'm going to do. I deal with young people who don't believe in God because their experiences have taught them that through prayer alone, it didn't change.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm dealing with people who have lost hope, who've lost faith because of how the world has treated them, what better
Mm-hmm.
place for me to provide a level of ministry than here? Because this kid is going to come to school at some point. They may
Mm-hmm.
never walk into a church, but they're going to come in here. And though I'm not openly talking about God in this workplace, this
Mm-hmm.
ministry service, my spirit tells you that God is in me.
Right.
So that's it. I mean, I'm a bishop, you know,
I like that.
of this church.
And it's something that I had to learn. I remember my good friend Janita, her grandmother was like on her deathbed, and I would go visit her. I came in time to visit her, and she saw the evolution of me, and she was like, you know, you're going to be in the ministry. And I didn't know how to take that at first, but now as I grew up, I understood what I'm doing now is my ministry. You know, just like the school system is yours, what I do as a coach is mine.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and so I just think, you know, if everybody understand that we are placed here with a divine assignment, and we just got to figure out what that assignment is, and then go as steadfast, then there's nothing you can have. There's nothing that you could not have
That's
because
right.
he's going to give it to you because you're being obedient.
Yeah. But the only thing I would add, and when I talk to people about these gifts, right, that
Mm-hmm.
that he gives you, they're not always financial. The gift of health, the gift of sight.
Yeah.
And so again, we tend to monetize a gift. And I
Yeah.
think one of the greatest gifts that he gives us that we least like is long suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you experience something that's intense enough, you are supposed to be transformed by that experience.
Right.
So even that in itself is a gift. So just be conscious of what the gift is and him giving you. Because I think God could care less if you're wearing Ferragamo or Prada or anything like that. And the same God for the believer that the poorest of us pray to or the wealthiest is the same person. And so
Mm-hmm.
he's not viewing his blessings and his gifts because you have more assets that man has placed value on.
Right. Exactly. So before we go, I want you, Bishop Coleman, to
Right.
give some inspirational words to the viewers about um, more of 2024. Is an abundance of all things as we head to 2024. What's your words of wisdom for them?
Yeah. Oh man, great question. And actually, I think I can close with this because you said something. You know, you watched my evolution, and the person who I was in college is a different version of the person that I am today. But at my core, I'm still the same person. And so people will come up to me and they'll be like, man, I know so and so. They said they know you. And I'm like, no, they know a version of me because that may have been 15 books ago. If you were talking to me 2 years ago, I've read 9 books in that time that are had these applicable life lessons that have helped me become a better person. So if I can go back and talk to those millennials, people that are going through anything, feed your spirit and your soul. And the more books that I've read, man, have been, in my opinion, the direct result of whatever success I've had because it's challenged my beliefs. And no amount of belief makes something true. And so, man, blessed is he that is able to receive new information to make adjustment. So if I could tell a person anything, watch your circle, but feed your soul and your spirit, man, with knowledge. And that knowledge won't always be about the spirit. It's going to be about human nature. I'm reading Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature right now. I've read his 33 Strategies for War, The Art of Seduction. Malcolm Gladwell is my favorite author. Man, read, because people who are able to read and are able to process new information are given the greatest opportunity to take advantage of the what I believe is the best gift God can give you, and that's another day. So you want to take a better version of you into that next day, but it's only going to happen if you're continuing to grow. So that's my closing words. It's just, man, invest in yourself, figure out how to be the most healthy version of yourself, because that person is going to spread love and energy into the universe that I believe in karma, that it comes back to you. You should strive, man, to make the world a better place. And it's only going to happen by you having influence.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you, sir, for taking your time out. I know you're a busy man. I truly appreciate it. And next year, I will definitely try to make it to your Christmas party. I saw
Yes.
all the videos, and I said I gotta be there next year for sure.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that too. It is a scholarship ball now. So I'm
Okay.
going to give away $50,000 in scholarships to River Rouge students. But my school district isn't River Rouge indigenous. They come from all over, the metropolitan Detroit area. So
Okay.
that party that is just this epic event in the city of Detroit also has a dual purpose because we're giving away $50,000 to our students.
I'm glad to know that. So I'm glad that next year that's gonna be on my calendar. I'm coming down there to support you, and
Absolutely.
hopefully y'all come to the ATL for our friends and family picnic this summer.
Yep. I had
All
a
right,
conflict last year, but I'll be there this year for sure.
all right, brother. Thank you so much. You have a great one.
All right, you too.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Yep. All right, Kev.
Yeah.